Hey guys, it's Maymay and welcome to another scripture art journal. This week's scripture comes from Hebrews 13:8 and it says, Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. Now I think you could go in a lot of different ways with this scripture because it reminds me of a rock or a cornerstone or a mountain or the earth, you know, the things that are the same, things that we can count on. And I don't know, I just thought this needs to be something weathered or shown over time, something that's been here for a long time. That's kind of where I was thinking. And I saw this technique where you can make strips of paper look like wood. So I was online and there was a piece of art journaling done with a piece of like scrapbook paper that was wood in 3 different colors. So I pulled out my distress inks and I'm going to try to make my background page look like weathered wood and show, you know, some wear over time, if that makes sense, to show that it's still there, but it is kind of worn over time. So I have 2 pieces of paper cut down to fit inside of my journal, and I cut my journal's 8.5 by 11, so I cut these down 1/2 inch smaller so they'll fit in good. So I've already done that, and now I'm going to cut pieces of paper that are, I'm going to go with 3/4 of an inch wide. Yep. I don't want an inch because that'll be a little too wide, and I don't want 1/2 inch because that's a little too thin, so we're just going to split the difference. And I'm going to cut this piece into as many 3/4 inch wide pieces as I can get. Look, I almost cut an inch. As many that I can get that are 3/4 of an inch. And the reason for that is I'm going to come back on that second piece of paper that you saw me move out of the way, and I'm going to panel it with these pieces of wood we're going to create. I actually saw Gina Kay do this, and I thought that is the coolest thing. Now, she used a regular ink pad. I'm going to use my my distress inks, but I think you could do this with any ink pad. I know I have done this before with my larger ink pad. I did a little test a while back. After I saw her do it, I thought, I got to see this work, and it does work. So, we'll keep going here, getting this all cut down. Now I need some scrap paper. What I do is I get these cheap little notebooks that are like 15 cents whenever they're clearancing them out for school or getting ready for back to school, and I use these as background. So I just flip the page and keep going, and that way when I'm done with this whole book, I'll throw it away. All right, we're going to start with any color. Doesn't matter which one you start with, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to start at the top of the strip and just kind of go to a point. So I'll show you what I mean. You're going to just slide this to say this point. And see how it kind of leaves that heavy line of demarcation right there? We're going to come back to that with the edge of the ink pad and pull to another point. Okay? So you see we have 2 lines where we can see, you know, real marking. Now we do it again all the way to the end. So this piece is going to end up looking like weathered wood when we put all this together. So we're going to do that on all the pieces, but I don't want them to line up in the same places. So here's what I'm going to do. Like on this piece, instead of doing these 3 marks on the page, I'm going to do maybe 4. So I'll pull this one to say there, just to get me started, and then one like this, and then one like this, a little longer, and then one like this. And what that'll do, when I put these side by side, is make my wood pieces not line up together. Does that make sense? So you just want to stagger them. So just kind of play around with that and see how neat that, it just works so easy to look like wood grain. Let's do another one. Let's use this red color. And I noticed just then, because I kind of came into this point, using the edge of your ink pad, okay, so you're pushing on that edge. Just stop and push. So there's your first part done. Then let's come maybe longer on this one. And then to the end. So this one's got 3 pieces, but still staggered from where these 3 pieces are. Isn't that cool? I think that looks really neat. So we're going to create a background out of this. I'm going to go ahead and do all those strips just like this, and then we'll get back together. Okay, so all of my strips are done, and I didn't tell you what colors I was using, so I want to tell you. This is peacock feathers, dried marigold, and aged mahogany. But you could use any color combination. This just kind of resembles what I saw online that I thought looked really cool. So now this piece of paper has been cut to fit into my journal, so it's a 1/2 inch smaller all the way around than my actual journal page. And I'm going to take these strips and just start with one. And I'm kind of going to be random, but not exactly, because what I'm going to do is there's 3 colors. So I'm going to do one of each color all the way across the page. So we're going to kind of panel our page with wood. And if we need to trim it down at the end, that's no big deal. It can be a little smaller. For some reason, this piece is not... Maybe I cut it incorrectly, but that's okay. I'm not going to stress. Y'all know I don't stress about that stuff. All right, and now this piece is going to come next to it, but I want to look where my wood is. If I don't like the way that lays, I can change it. I like this one better because the wood markings don't line up exactly. Isn't that neat? These also kind of look like bamboo. If you ever needed to do a bamboo background, I think you could do that with this fairly easy too. So a little glue. It's like laying floor tile, but you don't have to stagger them. They stagger because of the ink. That's super cool. All right, so there's that one. Probably if you inked the edges of this, you'd really see a difference between the two also. Like if you were using one color, you could ink the edges and it really show up. I just feel like this scripture needs to show something that's been here for a long time. And I think this is a good way to kind of show that is with a weathered wood look. And this reminds me of, like, if you've ever been to Key West or anywhere like that and they have the bright woods or the bright colors they paint, it reminds me of that. So, like a weathered beach house. That's what it reminds me of. So now the page is all glued together and you get the feel of the weathered wood, but as I was doing this and I talked about I should have inked the edges or could have inked the edges, I got to thinking, I wish I had done that. So now what I'm going to do is take some Spectrum Noir markers. This is TN2, TN7, and then the blender. Now, these Distress Inks and these really shouldn't play together, but I'm okay with seeing how they do because I want this to look weathered. So if it bleeds and blends, I'm okay with that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the chisel tip or the bullet tip of the pencil, of the marker, and I'm going to go right in the crease where I glued these together and just color. And I'm starting with this lighter color first to see if it's the color I want to use because I'm not sure if it is or not. But it looks okay. And the pencil kind of stays in that crease, or the marker does. But if you're concerned about that and you want to be perfect with it, just get your ruler out and run it down your ruler. That's pretty good. I'm going to try the darker color. So that was TN2. This is TN7. Let's try it. Like I said, I don't mind if these bleed a bit. That's really dark. I don't know if I want to go that dark. I kind of do like it though. Let's see what the blender does to it. I say just play around, right? Just test them. Oh, I really like that. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I love how the blender does it. So we're going to take this darker marker, and I'm just going to lightly come down. And I'm going to do little skips too. Just kind of get some places and skip some places. And then I'm just going to take the blender pen and just run it down. A little slower. When you run the blender pen a little slower, a lot of ink will grab in there, and it'll blur out even better. And it'll be less work that you have to do. Because what this pen actually does is make the ink kind of run. So that works really good. Alright, so I'm going to do that to all the sections to give myself a little more of a separation between the two. So what I've done is I've done the marker, the dark marker, then I'm taking the bigger tip of the blender and I'm like swirling it along the line to kind of stretch that dark brown out. And I'm not being very particular. Do you see how I'm doing? I'm just kind of coloring. And I love the way it is smearing it out. Let me show you. I'm going to bring it up a little closer. You see how it's really looking like wood? I think it looks awesome. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this page a little bit because it's kind of hanging off. And then we're going to ink the edges with some Distress ink. So I'm going to trim this down just a bit. Okay, so I have trimmed the page down, and now I'm going to use my ink blending tool. And I can't decide if I want to use Vintage Photo or Antique Linen. I'm going to start with the lighter color. Just see how that looks. I think I'm going to use Vintage Photo because I can hardly see that. You guys see how I just interchanged this blending tool? I'm so a rebel. Alright, so I'm going to just ink this up all the way around. Like that. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm really going to be a rebel, and I'm just going to kind of drag it and just see what we get. Just see if we can knock that color back to each other a little bit, get some of the white out. I gotta be honest, I love this. I think this would make awesome backgrounds for masculine cards. Or masculine scrapbook layouts. Wouldn't this be awesome? If you were doing a fishing layout, like something about your boys fishing or something like that, that would be super cool to do like the pier in this. That would be neat. And the more I do this color, the prettier to me it gets, because it's more rugged and worn. Okay, so there is our background. I love it. Now we need to work on the scripture. So we're going to go back to our scrap paper. And I'm going to use this lighter color, and I'm just going to try to color this some. Just put some color. I'm going to start off and drag across, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to start over here and then drag across, just like this, to get some color on our scripture. I just did it on white. I printed it off my printer on white cardstock because I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it, but I thought we'd play with it and see. And so I like that. Let me see how far, if that'll go all the way across. Oh, I kind of like it not going all the way across, kind of like that. So that looks good. Now let's ink the edges of this too. And again, I'm going to start out here and just drag this across to kind of knock the white back. I like playing with these inks. I'm learning them. I don't know a whole lot about them, so I just take them out and play with them, and whatever we get, you know? Because it's my art journaling, right? So it doesn't matter. Okay, so there's that page. And now I'm going to glue this down just like that. Love it. And I'll trim away what I don't need. Let me look at that and get that straight. It's pretty straight. Got some glue off the edge there. All right, and now I'm going to trim that away. Now I'm just going to come back right to that edge and just put some ink on it to kind of blend it in. And there we go, guys. That is this week's scripture page. I love it. It was super fun to do. If you guys try it, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with if you do this kind of weathered wood technique. You can put that onto our Facebook group, which is called Hide His Word in My Heart. And if this is the first time you've come across our scripture art journaling, we do this every week. We've done this so far. This is 42 weeks, I think. I could be way off. If I am, I will correct that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I cannot wait to see what you create. Until next week when we scripture art journal again, have a great day. Bye-bye.